We've got a very special garden as well for you today because Joe and I have come to the edge of the North Wessex Downs to visit a garden called Malverleys. It's a very traditional garden, but with a modern twist.
Yeah, in just 14 years, this garden has been transformed from a hodgepodge of fields and football pitches into one of the UK's most exciting and beautiful gardens. And at the moment, it's in all its spring beauty. And this garden is rarely open to the public, so we've got a bit of an exclusive here, Rachel.
We've got special access today, and we're very excited because we're going to be working with the team, getting our hands dirty, and exploring how they managed to keep this garden looking so incredible all year round.
Also coming up on tonight's programme,
we meet a gardener who's gone back to his roots and has transformed a blank canvas into a horticultural hideaway.
As I pushed the gate open for the first time and walked in and saw this space, I was just blown away by it.
Arit is in Manchester to find out why two garden designers are using a city park as inspiration for their show garden at the RHS Chelsea Flower Show and how AI technology is helping.
The thing that we've developed is an app that you can log into. So you scan a QR code and then you can actually see all the trees on the garden. You can click on a tree and you can have a conversation with that tree. So you can say, what do you need? How are you faring? It will be tested at Chelsea and then come to Mayfield for a longer term real world pilot.
And we meet a couple ripping up the rule book on veg growing. And wow, does it work?
A nice size, yeah, nice and white. Curds are tight, a bit like a judge's wig, really, isn't it? Yeah, and you can smell it. It smells beautiful.
In rural Hampshire, set across 10 acres, the gardens have been split into individual rooms, inspired by prominent English flower gardeners. Each one skillfully designed and planted to create its own distinct atmosphere.
So I come here to the White Garden, and everywhere around us, just this sea of beautiful bulbs. The tulips pristine and white, and then you've just got the cool blue of the camasias just popping up in between them. It's lovely. And this is filled, you can see, all herbaceous plants waiting to come up. It's absolutely packed in here. So the genius of it is that it looks beautiful now in spring. It's going to look great through the summer and onwards through the whole year.
well, that white garden is gorgeous, but look at this. This is the Topiary, and you couldn't get more different. When the light comes through, it's absolutely gorgeous, using all the stumps from the site here to create this incredible space, so atmospheric. Nothing in this garden is accidental. It's been beautifully put together. And of course, there's someone behind it, and that'll be the very clever head gardener.
Matt Rees moved lock, stock and watering can to Malverleys 14 years ago with his wife Jess after accepting the challenge of transforming a complete blank canvas into the garden it is today.
It's quite a big space, so we just split it up into smaller gardening rooms using new hedging.
Matt has worked at some of the most prestigious gardens in the country and has scoured the world for inspiration before developing and designing Morville.
When we designed this garden, we wanted to create quite an intimate garden, a garden that you could get lost in, that revolves around atmosphere. And we also wanted to make it look intellectually interesting. You know, we wanted to grow rare plants, not just beautiful plants, so that when you're wandering around the garden, you know, if you're interested, you'll find these quite special things.
Matt lives on site with his wife Jess and their kids Claude and Lorelei, who all get involved in the garden's upkeep, working alongside a young, hard-working team.
I want the garden to be physically demanding. I quite like getting stuck in. We want to constantly push the garden forward, to try new things, and we want it to be beautiful as well.
Matt's attention to every single minute detail is what contributes to making this garden special.
Hi, Matt. Is
Right,
it okay
Jack.
to walk along this border?
Yeah, just watch out, because you've got those big boots on.
You and your trainers.
I know I insist the guys wear trainers when they're working in the border so they don't stand on all the annuals and things.
I didn't get the trainer remit. I didn't get the memo. So you're cutting that back harder, so you're pollarding.
So this is Populus albus. It kind of would make a huge tree in the garden, but it's very useful as a pollard for having this lovely fresh foliage at the height that we want it at. It will take being cut back year after year. For a baby, 10, 15 years. It's the sort of thing you can use in very small gardens. Instead of getting that small spring flush of new growth, you get these long, lovely wands of foliage and growth that are produced right the way up until the end of summer into early autumn. It's just a lovely way of kind of presenting woody plants in a mixed border.
This garden is beautiful.
We call this the cool garden.
Is it the cool garden because only cool people are allowed in here?
Very cool people.
Yeah, very cool
I mean, you
people.
might have to get out. We work with a kind of a cooler palette of plants, but this is tulip merlot, and obviously it's a merlot colour.
Got to say, the tulips look absolutely glorious.
And it's one of the lily flowered tulips, and they've done really well this year. They've enjoyed the dry spring that we've had.
I better get on planting the poppies.
Mind your step as you're
I'll
weeding.
mind my step in my clumpy boots. Yeah, don't worry. So these poppies are going to flower later in the year, but there's so much going on in this garden. There's fantastic succession planting. There's loads of perennials. The tulips are doing their thing now, and then these poppies are going to come and flower later in the year. But this whole garden is so cleverly designed. For a start, it's not square at all. It's a really odd shape. But because they've imposed this symmetry with the water feature in the middle and this cruciform layout, you lose the boundary, so you lose the strange shape of it, and the planting just disappears. So it's a good tip for a small garden. And then plenty of height as well. So we've got trees, things like the magnolias, the dogwoods, but not all stuck around the edges, some of them encroaching into the centre space, and that adds interest, it keeps the eye moving, and even at this time of year, there's a lot going on.
I've come to the stream garden. Now I'm just adding here to the mulch. They mulch here every year, so I'm just putting on another layer on the top. The planting here is fantastic. You've got these majestic deciduous trees, and at this time of year, the sun can still filter through those tiny leaves and reach the ground here. And what I love is the kind of plants that you can grow. There are lots of these lovely acers everywhere, and also this, the Stachyurus. Now that's got those wonderful flowers. They sort of dangle down like they're dripping from the stems. And this is just a baby, and when it gets bigger, you see there are masses of them. It's like it's covered in curtains. So beautiful. Hi, Jess.
Hello, Rachel.
This is your domain, isn't it?
Yes, the glass house.
The queen of all you survey. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? What was it for you that sort of brought you into horticulture?
I've been working in horticulture for the best part of 25 years now. There's something quite magical about, you know, starting a pot of seed and then suddenly it's germinated, or, you know, taking cuttings and suddenly they've rooted, or just coming in here each morning and there's something about to flower or has just opened, and it never gets boring.
How did you come to be here?
I began my horticultural career in America, in Connecticut, and they brought Matt over to help install the border. And I do remember very clearly one day running past the long border, seeing Matt and just being completely smitten straight away. And now fast forward quite a few years and we're married and have 2 children.
So what are we doing?
The Cymbidium orchids have just finished flowering, mostly, so now is a really good time to repot and split them.
Most Cymbidium orchids originate from the forests of the Himalayas. So unlike their more common cousin, the moth orchid, they thrive in cool and shady conditions.
Right. I was thinking, Jess, maybe this one can just be potted up, but this one we can divide. So
out of the pot.
That can
This is always
sometimes
the tricky
be
bit.
The tricky bit.
There we go.
Oh, that wasn't too bad. Look at their roots on that. It's incredible,
they do
isn't
have
it?
quite thick, fleshy roots.
So, are we just going to chop it up?
We are going to chop it down the middle.
So it's just a bread knife, isn't it?
It is just a bread
sawing
knife.
through.
And you can actually be pretty rough with them. Everyone thinks that orchids are very, very delicate. And of course, they're very, very beautiful, but they are very robust plants. There we go.
It's like a big slice of cake.
It is. If you peel off a lot of the dead leaf sheaths, it helps prevent scale insects from taking hold.
Is that one of the main pests for them?
Yes, and mealybugs love them as well.
Jess, I think I might actually divide this again. It feels to me like that could go into more pieces here. Right.
There we go.
Okay, so that will now pot up nicely, I think. Fantastic. Now, tell me about this potting mixture we're going to make here.
Now, the multi-purpose will help hold in the moisture. The perlite will help make sure it doesn't stay too wet, and the bark will just help keep everything draining through.
This is like baking. I like this bit. Feels like it might need an egg.
Yes. Not tried that before.
No, that would be a novel approach.
We start just putting a bit in the base.
Okay.
And I'm just going to do a very light sprinkling of slow release fertilizer because they are slightly heavier feeders.
They're
than
quite
most
greedy, aren't
orchids.
they?
Chuck in a load more compost and kind of pack it down around the roots as we go.
Yes, it's making sure there are no air pockets. So what's the best position for them inside the house?
Ideally, they like sort of a bit of dappled light. I think probably the most important thing to avoid is sort of very strong scorching afternoon sun. They can take morning sun because it is much gentler.
Lovely.
There we go.
We can have 3 plants where we had 1.
All looking good.
Nice, looking
Oh,
lovely.
yes. Mind the orchids, please.
Yeah, well, don't dribble it on my shoes.
No.
What a wonderful greenhouse. And you can see all the plants at different stages.
Yeah, this is the beating heart of the garden, if you like. Supplies the garden with plants right the way through the year. It gives us the edge on the vegetable garden so we can start things early. Also, we grow lots of annuals in here that support the garden through the year. And we use things in quantity, so, you know, economically, it's just more viable to grow things yourself.
So run us through your way of sowing seed. Everyone's got their own way.
The basic rule is the finer, smaller seeds tend to need surface sowing. They don't have the energy to push up through compost, whereas the larger seeds, they do, so they tend to go further down. But for most seeds, we use a seed sowing compost. It's a compost that has a little bit of nutrition, but not too much. If it has too much fertilizer in it, it'll burn those young roots. They won't like it, okay? And then you want to firm it in. But when you firm as well, make sure you use your fingertips, not your thumbs. You don't want to be getting your shoulders into it. I was always told off when I was a student.
You want to keep some air in it.
Exactly.
But when it's watered, it's not going to sink too much.
Yeah. And you don't want big lumps of compost on this last layer. And what happens is you see these seedlings, say they germinated in there, and then you've got to pull them apart, you'll start snapping roots. So, and I'll sieve the compost in, just so it's nice and fine. Okay.
Lovely sieving action, I'd like to just...
Yeah, I'm a bit of an expert at sieving.
Yeah, you've done this before, haven't you?
For sowing these small seeds, you want to make a nice flat surface on which to sow them. You can use the bottom of a pot.
Just to level it off a little bit.
Just level it off. And then we would sow the seed evenly over the top. This stock here, Matiola incana, is a great thing. We grow it as a cut flower. These are small seeds, but they're not ultra fine. I like to put them on my hand so I can kind of see what's going on. And the thing is to remember with a pot as well, sow right to the edge, where the soil meets the pot is very good drainage there. It's probably the best drainage in the whole pot. But sow them evenly, so when they germinate, each seed has enough room to grow. Yeah. When you prick them out, the roots aren't all growing into each other. The stocks, they do like a little bit of coverage, but only just enough to shut out the light.
Just a tiny smattering there.
Yeah, like icing a cake. And I would kind of just firm them again. And when we firm them, we keep this nice and level. If it's at an angle, the seed will run to one side. Now we would label this.
Are you using a pencil there?
Yeah, so we always use, again, 2B. We find that...
Hang on, it has to be a 2B?
Yeah. 3B's a little bit too soft. 1B's a little bit too hard. This is the ultimate for writing on plastic.
Wow.
And then we stick it over somewhere flat. And this is really important for watering, because if it's on an uneven surface, when you water it, the water will run to one side and wash all the seeds into the corner of the pot. The other thing to remember as well when watering is to start the watering away from the pots, because often you get this kind of rush of water. So you get a nice even spray, then bring it across, and then bring it back. You know, maybe do it a couple of times until you've got decent saturation. You see the way it drips off the end?
Yeah.
You don't want that on your fine seeds, because again, it will disturb the compost.
But all these details are so interesting to get your approach. A real masterclass.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. Well, soon these plants will be going out into the borders to give them a real boost through the summer. And another gardener who's transformed a blank canvas is Will Thompson from Sheffield. And last year, he showed us how he realised his dreams.
I was lucky enough to grow up in the countryside, always surrounded by wildlife and nature. And as my dad lost his job and we ended up moving to town, and then for years after that I lived in cities, so to come back here, I'm kind of refining my roots and getting to create this wildlife around me again, which is really nice. I bought the house at auction. People told me that they've walked past on the footpath for 30 years, they didn't even know that this site existed. You would never know it was here. It's just really tucked out of the way. As I pushed the gate open for the first time and walked in and saw this space, I was just blown away by it. It was basically a blank canvas. The garden itself was just long grass, there's lots of ground elder in the old 100-year-old house. So for me, it looked like the perfect opportunity to do something creative, build my own house eventually, and of course the main thing was to be able to create a garden. So when I first designed the garden, I basically created one big long border and started to put in some plants that were given to me, plants that I'd had previously on an allotment, so there wasn't many. And now the really beautiful thing that's happening is that the plants are starting to self-seed. These foxgloves over here, I started with 1 or 2, and then they've all just ended up finding their own way around the garden. This beautiful white one here has just landed exactly next to the diving board, which couldn't be more perfect. I think when a garden starts to really come into its own is when nature's starting to make the decisions for you, which I think is a really nice thing. The best time to come out in the garden is either start of the day when the sun's coming up, with all the foxgloves at this time of year getting lit up, and you see the reflections on the pond as well. The pond acts like a big sky mirror, so you basically get these beautiful reflections of clouds and the surrounding trees. First of all, it was just going to be a decent-sized wildlife pond, and then I started to read about natural swimming pools, got a book, and I made the decision then to dig a hole for the pool. And at first, it felt like I'd completely vandalised my garden, because it was all just mud and earth and not very pretty, but There's nothing better than swimming in the pool and having dragonflies buzzing around your head, or seeing a tadpole swim by, watching the birds land and having a drink. It's a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary for me and a sanctuary for wildlife as well. My gardening style is definitely naturalistic. I'm really inspired by looking at plant communities in nature and seeing how plants grow together. And as a designer, I like to grow different things and learn about them and learn about the way that they grow. This is the vegetable garden. I wanted an area for growing my own food. It's ended up being a place where things self-seed, like this beautiful angelica. It's great for wildlife. It's always full of flies and pollinators, so I let these grow. I'm planted a squash beneath it. They'll wrap around the angelica and use it as a climbing frame, which is something a little bit different. So the main routes through the garden, I've cut the grass short and then left longer areas of grass where I want to create more of a habitat for wildlife. This is Yorkshire fog, which is a native grass. I didn't sow that, this has just come as a result of leaving the grass long. We think about plants for pollinators, which is obviously really important, but grasses are super important as well for caterpillars to feed on. And then out of the long grass, I've allowed some things to grow, like this shrub, which is Coleopsis spicata. And this is a really great scent. So I put this on the main thoroughfares, so you can enjoy that as you walk to the front door. I built this additional cabin in the garden as a place to come and work and record music. And before you enter the door, I put in a couple of special plants that really show off the beauty at close quarters.
This is an Aquilegia called Yellow Queen,
which has these lovely long tails. In the slightly shady area, the yellow really helps to lift the light. And on the other side here, we have Lamprocapnos spectabilis alba, formerly known as Dicentra alba, or Dutchman's breeches is a common name. And this is another great plant to show off the detail right next to the step where you get to brush past it and admire it every day. Finding this place at auction was really just so unexpected, and to create it and make it my own has been incredibly fortunate. But I also feel like I'm a custodian of the land here. It is mine on paper, but really it's for me and for other people to enjoy as well, and for wildlife, and to try and keep spaces like this from being overly developed into something where nature isn't really having a home anymore and it's being pushed out. Because we do have a biodiversity crisis, and I think that everyone needs to do what they can, and having a garden and making it a sanctuary is really crucial.
I completely agree with Will that nature always does it best. But we humans can be pretty ingenious too. Just look at this magnificent laburnum arch. And even now, when it's just the structure, before the leaves are in, before the dangling flowers, it's a thing of beauty.
It's really lovely to be working in this vegetable garden, I've got to say. And Matt's given me some specific instructions. I'm spacing these cut and come again salad leaves with a stick to get exactly the right spacing, because he's very precise about things like that. He's got ahead of the game by planting into these plugs. And so they're really easy to plant out. Now you can buy them as plugs, or you could sow direct and then just thin them out a little bit later. And then when they start growing, you just start cutting them and they come again, cut and come again. And you'll get loads of crops out of these. And there's lots of other stuff you can buy as plugs or sow direct now. It's a lovely place to work this. It's got a really nice feel about it, this vegetable garden. Beautiful.
Sharing his horticultural knowledge, Matt employs apprentices as part of his team.
Ty, what a beautiful structure you're making here.
Thank you very much.
It's really lovely. I mean, look how it's woven along the top. And it's sturdy too.
It is,
so is
yeah.
this for legumes? What are you planning to grow up here?
So I think a couple peas all the way along.
Yep.
First and foremost, trying to make it look lovely and protect from all the crows, the pheasants that we have around here.
Okay. What's it about working here that you really enjoy?
I think the variation, the freedom to be outside. I think not many people my age would say this is ideal, but for me, you know,
Yeah, it's a good
it's
fit.
a place to be, yeah.
And what is it like working with Matt?
His knowledge is just second to none, really. And all the time that I'm here, I just wanted to suck as much knowledge out of Matt as I can.
Okay, before you take over as head gardener in 10 years, right?
One day.
That's the
One
plan.
day, what a place to take over it would be.
So Ashton, you are one of the people responsible for making this look so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's brilliantly done. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 16.
You're 16
Yes.
and you're able to do that. This is phenomenal. And what's it like being here, working here?
It's amazing. You learn so much. You learn a lot from Matt. I couldn't name the amount of things because there's so much I've learned from him over the past 6 months.
Is it fun working here?
Yeah, it's very fun. We all have a laugh, but still get the job done at the same time.
That's the best you can hope for, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, I really take my hat off to you. It's such a good job.
Thank you.
Right, those salad leaves are in.
OK.
Ooh, nice. Nice bit of hoeing action you got there.
This is it. It's unusual to be hoeing this time of year.
Nice sharp one.
This is about 30, 40 years old, this hoe. But it's just very light and it's just at the right angle.
Yeah. Everyone's got their favourite tools, haven't they?
Well, this is it. And when you find a good one, you don't want to let it go.
Definitely. What do you use this for then?
This is a bamboo rake that I brought back from Japan many years ago. It's a really handy rake for just getting in there and just, you know, taking out the weeds.
Yeah.
And it's very delicate, so it can kind of just skate across the top without damaging them.
Yeah, nicely done. This is a nice spade.
This is, it's called a rabbiting spade, and we don't use it for rabbiting, but it's very, very strong. It's a good all-round spade. I like the fact that it's narrow, so you can use it to plant annuals. You can get in amongst the perennials, dig a small hole.
So, are you passing all this knowledge on? Well, you obviously are, to all your guys here.
Yeah, we've got a really good team here, and they're very, very keen, hungry to learn.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, these are the gardeners of the future.
Yeah, well, it keeps it alive, doesn't it, if you pass it on?
Here, the trees are incredibly happy because they've got ideal growing conditions and a great team looking after them. But in urban areas, often the trees face all sorts of issues because those conditions aren't hospitable. It's a problem that 2 designers heading to the RHS Chelsea Flower Show this year have been considering with the design of their urban forest garden. And Arit went to Manchester a few weeks ago to find out more.
It's no secret that green spaces in our towns and cities are vitally important, not only for our well-being, but also for the environment. But to create a park that over time will flourish, that is challenging. Opened in 2022, this 6.5-acre public park is home to 150 trees, 120,000 shrubs and plants, and even has space for a kids' play park. This is Mayfield Park, Manchester's first new park in over 100 years. But it's a park for the future, and I am so excited to see what it has to offer. I'm here to meet Duncan, the landscape architect who created Mayfield Park, to find out more about how he approached turning this space into an oasis in the heart of the city. Duncan, it's amazing to think that the park is actually only a couple of years old. What was here before?
It had print works, dye works. It even had its own railway station. So there's a really kind of rich industrial heritage that Manchester as a city has, and this site was really sort of at the epicentre of that. And what we wanted to do from more of an environmental perspective was we had a river and we wanted to create a huge amount of planting and nature, and we thought that that combination of the two things could be really beautiful.
Yeah, and what did you have to think about in terms of bringing the planting palettes together, the tree choices?
We were really keen to create a huge amount of diversity in terms of the planting. So the trees, I think, really capture that. You get a real sense of being in kind of an urban arboretum. So we purposely picked lots of different forms, lots of different species. We really wanted to sort of move away from just native species and sort of test species that tend to do well in warmer conditions.
Mayfield Park is an incredible example of how inner-city, disused industrial spaces can be redesigned into thriving green spaces. And it's this park's transformation that has inspired garden designers Tom Massey and Jayanne to bring their own urban forest to the Chelsea Flower Show. What is it about parks like this in the middle of a city that you both find so important?
You know, you see it's quite early in the morning, but this park is already full. Kids running around and families having picnics already. This is part of the breathing lung of the city.
Yeah, and I think parks like this aren't just about people, it's also about nature. I mean, you can hear all the birdsong. There's been kingfisher spotted in the river, brown trout. You know, these kinds of parks also give a wildlife corridor. So all sorts of pollinators, really biodiverse array of planting, all the different kinds of trees.
I guess adding into this is some of the challenge of the climate obviously changing and keeping these parklands going.
Yeah, this has been the hottest, driest March ever, I think, in this country. So the changing climate is another struggle that these kinds of urban spaces are facing.
One of the key thoughts when Tom and Jay were designing their Chelsea garden was its legacy, and Mayfield Park was front and city centre of their future plans. This is the relocation. I mean, really?
Yeah, this is Pigeon Triangle. So what we really liked about this is the harsh urban environment that we're talking about at Chelsea.
Can I correct you? Harshest. I mean, really, this is in your face, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's exposed, it's polluted. You know, standing here as a human, you feel quite uncomfortable. Imagine...
Traffic island.
Yeah, imagine a tree trying to survive here.
Have you got the plans with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like in Mayfield Park, we've got all sorts of reclaimed materials. We've created this quite dynamic, quite topographical landscape. So we'll definitely bring some of that character to this space here. And as you can see, it's full of trees.
And we really want this place to be somewhere that you can find at that moment of a sanctuary before you actually go off to somewhere else. This is the first thing that you see as soon as you come out of the station. We want to make a best impression of ourselves.
Pollution, extreme temperatures and poor soil quality are what trees are up against in city parks, and survival rates of trees can be challenged. To give them a better chance, Tom and Jay are planning to showcase AI technology for a longer-term solution.
Mayfield Park is an urban park for the future, and what we're doing here is we're giving the trees, you know, more of a chance to survive by using sensors and monitoring to really understand what they're encountering.
Have you had any criticism? Because obviously bringing AI, artificial intelligence, into a nature space, I know some people are nervous about that.
AI is quite an interesting term because general understanding of AI is so broad. But what we're using is a very pattern recognition, almost like going through hundreds of spreadsheets and trying to find a pattern, which we really don't want to do that by ourselves, right? So AI is a helping tool. It's not replacing what we do as a human.
Should we go back to the park? I'll demonstrate a sensor and show you how it works.
Yeah, brilliant. OK, I'll give you your plans back. Small and discreet, it only takes Tom a minute to install one on one of the trees in the park. This is it?
Yeah, this is it.
Wow.
This is a sensor. So what this is doing is it's measuring growth in microns, which is 0.01 of a millimetre. So, you know, giving you a really precise measure of how much that tree's growing. It's measuring rock and lean, so if the tree's moving too much in the wind, if it's unstable, it would alert you to that. Humidity, temperature, you know, it's giving you all this data in a really, really precise way, giving you real-time feeds that is just giving you such a good picture of the conditions that that tree is experiencing and what it's facing in this environment.
When I'm at Chelsea, how will that data feed through? Is it on an app or screens, or how will you show that?
The thing that we've developed with a big team of developers is an app that you can log into. So you scan a QR code and then you can actually see all the trees on the garden. You can click on a tree and you can have a conversation with that tree. So you can say, what do you need? How are you faring? It will be tested at Chelsea and then come to Mayfield for a longer term real world pilot. So it's a really exciting way to explore AI, to provide a tool that can genuinely be useful.
A cutting-edge legacy for Manchester's newest park that could provide the blueprint for how all of our future green spaces are managed. Parks of the future have got so many demands on them. They have to be able to offer wildlife corridors. They have to be able to be here for our health and well-being. And they have to be here for the future. I'm really intrigued to see how Tom and Jay are going to highlight all these issues in their Chelsea show garden.
Well, you'll be able to see Tom and Jay's garden on the coverage from the BBC of the Chelsea Flower Show when it starts on the 18th of May. And we'll learn all about the garden and the AI technology that went into it. And I, for one, can't wait. Ooh, look what I found. I was told there were tulips here. They're absolutely beautiful. And this isn't even part of the ornamental garden. This is right at the back where Matt does a lot of his testing and just sort of trialling different cultivars. So he's looking at things like flowering time, the heights, how sturdy and strong is the stem, not only for cutting for a vase, but also can it withstand the weather? And there are some favourites of mine in here already. I can see there's lovely Princess Irene, and it's brilliant because it's compact, so it's ever so good at the front of a border, also in a pot. We've got some lily-flowered ones. This one is Healthcare. I spotted one of my favourites actually just here, and this is Black Hero. It opens this lovely sort of burgundy, really full flower. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm in seventh heaven here. But actually, I've come here to do a bit of pruning, so I'd better tear myself away. Right, so Matt has asked me to have a look at this vine. It's an edible grape growing outside, and I think it might be a while since it was done, so I'm just going to have a look, because there's quite a lot of dead in here, so I'm just going to try and take all of that off so I can actually see what remains. And if you can just sort of scratch away at the bark, you can use your secateurs just to check, but that is definitely no longer with us. But we have got the living bit here, so I'm going to keep these two buds. There's one little bud here, and the other bud here, so I'm just going to take this back just above that bud. Normally, you would do this a little bit earlier in the season because the sap is already rising, but that's fine, it'll be okay. It's not the speediest job because you're stopping and assessing, looking at each piece and deciding what to do with it, but actually, it's very enjoyable, very nice to do, so I'm quite happy.
Every corner you turn, there's something new to see. And I love this bit behind me because it's just so playful as a design idea. It creates this sort of imaginative playground made from topiary, living architecture. And they're all different, they're all individual, and at the top of them, they're developing different shapes. I'm not quite sure what's happening here. It could be a squirrel, there could be some birds, and I think right at the back there, I can see Rachel de Thame as a ballerina. What do you think? It's really impactful. And I like this hedge as well. This is Euonymus alatus compactus. I always put this plant in a garden because it's brilliant for bees, but also it turns the most incredible autumn colour, scarlet red. And imagine that, scarlet red hedge with these topiary pieces. It's surreal.
I could wander around these rooms all day, but it's time for a bit of graft in the pond garden.
Wow, look at this. It's enormous. It fills the space beautifully, and the reflective qualities are just fantastic. On a hot summer's day, this would be the place to be. But this time of year, it's time for a little bit of spring maintenance, but you want to go easy in a pond because there'll be lots of wildlife in here that you don't really want to disturb. But, you know, some of these plants need thinning out a little bit so it doesn't get too full of plants, and they're all doing a job. So over there in that corner, you can see there's water lilies, and they're just starting to come through, and they help cover the water surface and stop the light hitting the water, which in turn reduces the algae. And in here, we've got lots of this. This is water soldier. It's a type of aloe, and it's doing a really important job of oxygenating the water. But just a little bit of maintenance, taking some of these out, because they grow so quickly, these water plants, that they can quickly sort of take over. And it's very easy to fish out. These are just individual plants. They don't root in the bottom at all. They're just aquatics, so they just float around. And then when you're taking out pond plants, the key is to leave them on the side of the pond, because there'll be loads of little critters in there. In fact, you can see some of them already. There's this sort of little water snails on the side, and if you leave them for a few hours, ideally overnight, they'll just crawl back in to where they came. This water soldier is not native, so you've got to be careful. You can only use it in a pond in a garden, because if it gets into the watercourse, it could spread everywhere and be really bad news. So if you're going to use it, make sure it's contained in a pond like this. It's quite good fun, actually. And also, once I've left these for a bit, they can go onto the compost heap. But yeah, planting a pond, you want to get a really good balance of oxygenators, aquatics and marginal plants around the outside. Yes, it's a bit about trial and error, as is all gardening, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And that's exactly what a couple have done on their allotment when they're growing their veg.
I'm Maggie. I'm a retired nurse, and we're here in the Derbyshire Peak District on our allotment, and we've been here for 4 years. And this is my beautiful wife, Mon.
I'm a chef. We've been married for 17 years.
We haven't got a very big garden, have we? So we wanted to really grow vegetables where we could come out and socialise, get exercise.
I've got Parkinson's, and for me to have this is crucial.
Yeah, I'd there's a cauliflower ready here.
OK.
Oh, blimey, it's heavy.
What do you think is going to be the best thing today for us to look at?
Well, I'm hankering on a cauliflower.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because we've strung them.
Onions will be good to look at.
Onions will be good.
And beetroot will be good to look at. And potatoes won't be bad.
Springies as well.
You're sounding confident.
We are confident.
We're happy this year. We're
happy
every year. We are happy every year.
It's a nice size.
Yeah, nice and white.
Curds are tight, bit like a judge's wig, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can smell it. It absolutely smells like a cauliflower. It smells beautiful. We organically feed. We've given it some liquid seaweed, which we do with all the produce on the plot. We found the secret to making it white is stringing up the leaves.
When the cauliflower is getting all the leaves all around, first of all, we will fold the leaves over. You'll get some string and gently tie the string around, a bit like having a sun hat on, really. It protects the curd of the cauliflower, so it stops them getting scorched. We struggled the first couple of years growing cauliflowers, but we've changed the variety this year as well.
This Andromeda is a good variety. Really nice, really pleased with it.
Oh, there we go. That's it. That'll do. Yes, you can look at the beetroot.
Favourite vegetable.
That's a nice one, Mum.
That's a nice size. So covering them up is definitely the way forward, netting them. First time we've ever left them covered for so long.
And the other thing is, you can thin them out. But why? It's just pushed everything out of the way anyway. And the others, when we've pulled this, will carry on growing. So we don't waste time thinning out. We just let it do what it wants to do. And that's about it. If you're in a crowd, you put your elbows out and you grow, don't you? Well, it's the same with a vegetable. It's going to find its way. Oh, yes, there's some carrots there. It's like the carrots. People say, oh, put your carrots in and then thin them out. We've just thrown them in the bed and we've not thinned them out.
They're the best they've ever
and
been.
It's absolutely amazing. Hey, up, look at this one here. It might come out like an alien, but it doesn't matter. Hey, look.
Not ready.
2, 3, 4-legged carrot.
If they come out looking like a body,
a spaceship, or an alien with 6 legs, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Carrot has grown a couple of legs, and it's usually an indication of stony ground, but it looks all right. It's quite nice with 2 legs. And if it can't be chopped, it'll be mashed.
There's lots of things that you can do with parts of the carrot as well. You know, the top, when it's feathery, you can use that in place of parsley.
Nice, that.
Yeah. You can make stock with the pea pods. You know, there's so much you can do with
stuff you would just chuck in your compost bin.
Can you use leek leaves?
No, you could use it for
somebody.
stock.
I suppose because they're thin, you could use them to floss your teeth.
When you've got them in, you could, yeah. Beetroot, you can use the tops of the...
You can whistle them like a piece of... A blade of grass. You can use the courgette leaves as an umbrella when it's raining.
You clown.
People are going to walk around with leek leaves going...
Behave now. We'll have this one then, Mags, yeah?
Yeah, it's a nice one. Hey, look at that.
Squeeze.
Oh, lovely onion. Ha! It's solid.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, have a smell.
Yeah, gosh, it's strong.
It's even got its own hairstyle, look you.
We grow them from sets. We fertilise it with onion fertiliser, dig it in, pop the onion in, water them, cover them, and then leave them.
That's it. And we hang them like that. This all dries off. We trim the tops off, and then you can plait them and store them. We spend very little, if possible. We use recycled materials. There's a local firm that makes coffins, and they have a lot of old wood that they don't use, and most of the raised beds, it's coffin wood. But there's nothing in them. There's only vegetables in the soil, nothing else. It's all right. I'm glad we've done these Pentland javelins. They've done really well this year.
No scabs. And they went in when?
March, April. Here we go. There's a nice jacket for you. How nice is that?
Yeah. It's like panning for gold, isn't it?
And the feeling that something you've cared for is giving back to you. And that's an amazing feeling. We've had to buy a new freezer.
Feel proud, don't you?
Yeah.
Feel proud.
Yeah. It's not just us working, it's the plant. We work together.
Who has the last word?
Max.
Neither.
I'm looking if I can get in.
What a great plot. Mags and Mon. There's nothing like gardening together. Back here at the Cloister Garden at Malverleys, I've come to find Irina. She moved to the UK from Ukraine 3 years ago and has worked here for most of that time. I'm going to help cut some flowers to create a display.
Is this one of your favourite parts of the garden here?
One of them. I like all parts of the garden, but this is really nice place just to stop and relax and think about everything. Just is a very calming place.
Yeah, these cherries are absolutely stunning. The multi-stem form, you know, they're just so graceful and they add volume at eye level.
This is cherry fagenzo. Yeah, very beautiful, and this is the right time for this cherry.
Yeah, that one needs a snip. Look, it's a bit stubby anyway.
Yeah, but you can still use so
you
for
can
small
tidy it up.
brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Good
see
job.
that. I can see that's perfect for flower arranging, actually.
Beautiful pet.
Yeah. This has got quite a Japanesey feel, really. But
Yeah.
on the whole, how different are British gardens to Ukrainian gardens?
Our Ukrainian garden, they more like show-off gardens.
Yeah.
Because we are like in everything bright, everything, you know, sharp, everything should be perfect looking. But the English garden, very naturalistic. Your garden is so charming, you know, and you use different texture, different colors.
OK, so you're just sort of taking some of the lower branches where it's a little bit congested. That one's growing inwards,
Yeah,
I would say.
Exactly. Good?
Yeah, that's lovely.
You're done?
I think that's plenty.
It's a good idea to cut flowers early in the morning when they're fully hydrated and to choose flowers that are still in bud, so we'll have plenty of vase life.
These honestly look really nice. Let's have some of these. So how is it working with Matt then? He seems the sort of guy you'd learn a lot of stuff from.
One of the biggest things what I learned from him is just to enjoy your work. Because in Ukraine, I work so fast, you know, always just done, done, done. And here, he always say, Irina, slowly. just relax, enjoy whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know many bosses who have told... No, I've never told anyone to slow
That's why
down.
I'm the likest person in the world.
How lovely. I think we should deliver it to the florists.
Yes, I will carry it.
You got it?
Yep.
Oh, look at those.
Gorgeous.
We selected well there.
Yeah, that looks like an arrangement, actually, ready-made.
We
Do
did our
anything
best.
now.
We did our best. Nicely curated, I think they say these
Yeah,
days.
thank you.
Very good taste.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Move that so you can have a look what's in there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, making something quite architectural?
Yeah, so I'm going to concentrate on the cherries, I think. It's nice to bring a bit of the garden into the house. We've got a bit of honesty here as well.
Lovely pale lilac, that's a gorgeous colour.
It's a really good one. I mean, this is the annual one, Lunaria annua, that most people are used to, and it's a kind of good self-sower. People often know it as the money plant because it has those kind of...
The lovely seed heads,
Exactly.
yes.
And then you've got this one, which is a perennial, and it's called Lunaria rediviva, and it's got a scent.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? Quite a honeyed scent.
People don't grow it enough, and it will self-sow as well. One of the things we do here is, you know, just breaking up the ends of the woody plants, just so they've got a bit more chance of taking in the water.
Taking up the water.
And sometimes what you'll do is you'll bring in plants from the garden and make combinations in the vase, and then you think, actually, this is something I could do in the garden.
Yes.
And so it's quite, you know, inspired. You know,
Yeah,
you'll take that
exactly.
combination and try it next year.
So you're learning from the floristry as well as
Yeah, I think it goes in both directions.
the flower arranging. These are lovely. They've got these straight stems
Yeah.
because they've just been cut.
I love the contrast between the cherry blossom and the spirea. The smaller flowers is quite a nice foil for the larger kind of fluffy pink flowers.
I love doing this.
Yeah, I really enjoy making arrangements from the garden. And the kids enjoy doing it as well.
Yes, making poses and...
It gets them out the house.
Exactly. Right, I feel like I'm pretty much done here, actually.
I don't really want to do too much more to
No,
that.
I don't think you need to. I mean, this is so beautiful because it's got all that movement in it.
Yeah, they picked well with the flowers, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
Fantastic job.
Now, they love their dahlias in this garden, and Matt's got an ingenious way of overwintering them, because often people dig them up and dry them and then pot them up at this time of year. And some people leave them in the ground. And if you leave them in the ground, you know, they are susceptible to slugs and snails, and you might get a really wet winter, they might rot off. But what he does is lift them in the autumn, divide them up, pot them up dry with compost, and now they're just ready to go. So that's all been done, nicely labelled up. They go into the cold frame in here. Now remember, this compost is bone dry. And now literally, it's a case of just add water. So you start watering and you give them a good soak at first, and then you don't water too much, keep them just moist until they show signs of growth, when you see those shoots, and then you start watering a little bit more. So here we go, just add water. Oh, I better use his technique as well. Start it over here and then go. There you go, give them a really good drink. And then close the lid, warm it up in there, and get them cooking nicely. Ah, it's a really busy time of year in the garden. I love it.
As the young shoots of a peony burst through, it's a good idea to put in supports before the blooms appear. You can buy a ready-made structure or make your own from bamboo canes. But here they use hazel, pushed firmly into the ground and woven into a dome that the leaves can grow through. And it's all then tied securely with string.
As seeds continue to germinate, it's important to keep on top of pricking out. As with these padron peppers, use a pencil or a stick to ease out the roots, holding leaves and not the stem, and then carefully planting into a peat-free multi-purpose compost. Label, put somewhere warm to grow on, and keep them well watered.
Now's the time to cover brassicas.
Use a fine mesh held above the crop and secured firmly at the base.
This will protect against hungry birds and cabbage white butterflies looking for somewhere to lay their eggs.
And this netting can remain in place for the rest of the season.
I'm afraid our time at Morvilleys with Matt and his family has nearly come to an end. But there's a lovely surprise after a busy day from Lorelei and Claude, Matt and Jess's children.
Oh, my goodness. That
Wow.
is the most beautiful bouquet I've ever had. Thank you.
I'll take that home.
Oh,
sweet. Well,
look at that.
the whole experience here has been gorgeous.
It's just been fantastic. I mean, the most beautiful garden, but it's the team, it's the people here.
Yeah, I've learned so
really
much
special.
here.
So have I.
Yeah, I can't wait to get home to try some new ideas out in my garden. Well, next week, Adam and Sue will be at the RHS Malvern Spring Festival, so join them then. But from us, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.